Yo,
Angela.
You ready?
Wait. Angela. Can you do my
I'm so sorry.
video? Oh. No, mo fẹ́ ṣe excuse kìí máa fi gbọ́ ọmọ kó lé mi.
All right,
Wọ́n máa ń nà mí pálá lẹ́yìn.
we're starting.
Yeah.
Yo, what's good, man? This is Issy Pinchal Podcast with your one and only host, Glory Boy, back again here with another special interview. And let me just say, this one is a special one because, as you can see, I have some OGs on the scene, I'm gonna call you guys the OGs.
Oh, yeah.
That's okay. And I would just like for you guys to kind of like go ahead and just introduce yourselves, just to let the people know exactly who you are. And then from there, I would just come up with some questions for you guys. And then, yeah, we could just, start.
I'm gonna ask my big daddy to start that.
Yeah, you could go ahead.
I am Mr. Oladepo Shorunke. I'm from Nigeria.
All right, nice to meet you. All right, and how about you, sir?
Oh, my name is Prince Wale Alobela. I'm from Ile-Ife in Nigeria.
Okay. Nice to meet you also. So as you can see, we got some Nigerian people in the building. Shout out to that. And thank you so much for actually, taking your time out of, because we're here in Buffalo Suya, a restaurant located in Buffalo, New York. And thank you for taking your time and just kind of like being on my podcast. And this was so random for you guys, as you can see. But I just want to like ask you guys like a first question though, like how was it, in Nigeria? Because a lot of people wants to know exactly. So now that you're in the United States, how was it in Nigeria and what brought you here?
Nigeria is a big country, but for me, I just came here, I'm a senior citizen, just here to just enjoy my old age.
How about you, sir?
Yeah, for me, I would say Nigeria is a great place.
Okay.
A place to be for who doesn't know about Nigeria. And for us over there, we want to explore the world. We want to know what is happening at the other side of the world. So for me, I came here with my family, and we are here to stay. And I can see US is a very nice place to stay.
All right, and coming to the United States, was Buffalo your first choice, or you felt like, you wanted to go somewhere else before Buffalo?
Yeah, Buffalo was my first choice because I had my first-hand information before coming here.
Okay.
And I see that Buffalo is immigrant-friendly and cheaper to stay compared to other high-flying states.
Right, that's true.
All right.
Yeah, and how about you also? Was Buffalo your first choice?
Yes, because Buffalo is good for me, but because most of the things I need in US, I got it without problem in Buffalo.
Right. That's good. And also, I have some Nigerian friends, and they've always. So a lot of the students that I met actually from Nigeria, they came here to the United States for school. Was like education something like huge for you guys? And how were your parents like back in your days? Like how were your parents like treating you guys in terms of like education and just finding a way to become successful somehow in life?
You want to start it?
Sorry?
Yeah. Back in the old days, it was sweet in Nigeria.
Okay.
Because cost of education was, during our time, it wasn't that expensive.
Right.
But with a global problem now, these days, it's like it's everywhere. And everybody wants better lives for their children, for their words and stuff like that.
Right.
And talking about Buffalo particularly, Buffalo is good, immigrant friendly, and I would say this is a place to start your life all over. This is a place to be in the US. This is a place for you to achieve your dreams, your aims, and whatever you have in mind.
Right.
This is a very good place.
Yeah, how about you, sir? Like, just growing up, I want to ask you like a different question. Growing up, like, was your parents very strict towards you in terms of like just being a young, let me say like a young man growing up, like education is important, this is important, and so on?
During our time in Nigeria, I have the privilege of going to free primary school, and from there, education is one of the best legacy in Nigeria, so it's good.
Oh, so in Nigeria there's like free primary schools?
In my own time.
Oh, in your own okay. And how about right now? Like, how is it?
There are some states are still doing it, but not everywhere in Nigeria.
Oh, okay. And also, like, just to look back in Africa, like, just coming up, did you find it difficult? Like, for example, within the African household, the parents can tell you, "Oh, I want you to become this. I want you to become this." But did you make your own decision, or your parents was the ones, like, pushing you to become something that you didn't want to become?
I make my own decision because at the later age I've achieved my aim, so I can pursue what I want for my life.
Right. Was it difficult for you though? Like, did you have a challenging time with your parents?
Yes, but with the challenges, they have to allow me to move on.
Right. And how about you?
Yeah, just like he said, it was difficult for me to make my own decision.
Right.
Because I went to the elementary school in the late 70s, and my high school was in the 80s.
Okay.
So for you in Nigeria, it was difficult for you to say, "Oh, I want to become." The parents will decide for you. Unlike now, where you can choose for yourself.
Wow,
so it was
crazy.
really difficult, just like you said.
Wow,
it was
crazy.
really difficult pursuing your own goal while you are growing up with your parents.
I mean, challenging them like, "Oh, I want to become this." Did you also face like some issues, for example? Because a lot of parents tend to say like, "I'm gonna disown you." I'm gonna,
Yeah. Let me tell you, my goal, my aim, my dream was to become a medical doctor, but I lost my dad while I was at my prime age, and while I was growing up, I ended up living with my uncle, and he said, "No, you're not going to be a medical doctor. You would rather be a pharmacist." Wow. But at the end of the day, I didn't even become all of those. I ended up, pursuing another dream entirely, and that's what helped me up to today.
Right. And did you feel like them saying that was the reason why you didn't become what you wanted to become, and just pursuing something else?
Yeah, somehow and somewhere I felt that, okay, they distorted my dream in some way.
Right.
And at the end of the day, I felt good that, okay, I opted for this, and it felt good for me.
Right.
And that's what made me what I am up to today.
Definitely. And I have a question for both of you, if you could just answer it. Just in terms of you guys coming here and seeing all these American kids, the way they act, did that make you feel some type of way? And in terms of like when you're raising your kids and so on, did you feel like, you know what, I don't want to be here no more, I want to go back to Nigeria?
Oh, for me, all my children have grown up, so I don't.
Right.
Yes. So before I came here, they have grown up, so I don't have any.
So you didn't have no issues?
Yes.
Okay. So they knew what to expect.
Okay.
And how did you raise them? How did you raise your kids?
It's the way we raise our children in Africa. So that's the way I raise them, because you know the way we raise our children in Africa is different from.
Yeah.
You have to be disciplined. That is, you know that.
Discipline. That's the key word.
Pamper, yes.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, in discipline. Okay, I want to ask you, in discipline, what you mean by discipline? Because there's different ways to discipline a child. There's a way to discipline a child by like words. There's a way to, just a little slap on the butt, and so on. So, how did you handle how did you kind of like discipline them to becoming something, something great in life?
There is one thing in Nigeria. If I go out, when I'm coming back, if my children saw my car coming, they have to run.
What, really?
Yes. They can't wait for me, because they will say, Daddy, boy.
Yeah.
So they have to, and that fear is in them.
Fear of the parents, yeah.
Do you think the fear of the parents it does affect certain kids in terms of like mentally, like mental health, and growing up? Because in America now they're using the terms mental health and so on, which back home we didn't really like very much focus on mental health. So do you think like when the kid fears you, they end up becoming something bad and so on and stuff like that?
If your child is not disciplined, may behave but if you have at least a guideline, say this is what you have to do, this is what you have to do, then
that's true.
Yeah, they would do it. So at least you have to put them through this. This is what you have to be doing.
So you have like a checklist, like if you do this, we're good.
Yes.
If you do something else, we're on the other side.
Yes.
I understand. And how about you, sir?
Yeah. Growing up with the parents is like the children of these days, we see it as a very tough way of living. But back then, when we were growing up, we see it as a way of discipline. If you wake up in the morning, you have to wake up 5 a.m. no matter what you do overnight.
5 a.m.
5 a.m.
If you wake up at 10?
No.
Hey.
5 a.m. And if you are a tenant, there is a portion of the building that you have to sweep. There is a kind of a bath of water that you have to draw. Number of baths you have to drop in the house for everybody to bath. And there is a portion of chores that you have to do on a daily basis. So nobody will tell you that. If your daddy wakes up or your mommy wakes up and you have not done all those, then you know the punishment that is awaiting you.
Wow.
So nobody wants to have that kind of punishment from the mother, from the father. So the discipline is there, just like my daddy rightly said. And you don't want to even have that kind of experience. So growing up over there is sweet. Even, do you know what? When you are growing up, that will transcend to your brothers, the young ones, because that's the discipline your father, your mother instill in you. Right. So you want to transcend, that will transcend automatically to the junior. Even when your father and your mother are late, you are transferring automatically. Right. Nobody. But these days, especially in the Western world,
right?
You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. This Western world gives them the ample opportunity to misbehave to the parents. Oh, you cannot beat them. You cannot even say anything.
They'll call the police.
Yeah, they take it as offense,
right.
And the parents are the receiving hand, and that's not too good for us.
Yeah, I know. And do you think? So let me speak on, because you guys are men, obviously. So let me speak on just man's perspective. Do you think the way your parents raised you made you become like a strong man, like the man you are today?
Yes.
I'm telling you.
And do you think like today, like the kids that's growing up, if they're not being raised with discipline, they end up just becoming something else. For example, they become more feminine. Let me say, for example, because a lot of times that's something that a lot of people are saying in terms of like men growing up in today's generation. They're not tough. They're not as tough as men back then.
Yes.
And how? What would you
Daddy,
say?
you know what I would say. The today's children are being distracted by, let me say, the internet of a thing. The internet, particularly, has made a kind of taking a chunk out of their, like chunk, I would say like 95% of their lives. So in those days, we grew up without internet, we grew up without phones, we grew up even without TV. I remember the first time I watched TV, I watched it in my neighbor's house, and I was sitting down on the floor watching a black and white TV, and that was awesome because somebody has to be outside turning the bamboo tree what we use as an antenna, you know. And for you as a child, you went to somebody's house to go and watch TV. There is a particular time you have to come back home. If you don't come home at that particular time, there is a punishment for you.
They go and
You
look for you
know,
there.
so nowadays you don't even have to go to the neighbor's house to watch TV. Everything is at the palm of your hand, and you watch. And somebody is talking to you. Oh, the plates are there in the kitchen. Nobody is washing. As a parent, you have to do all those. Or the laundries are there. You have to do for them. Even everything, you have to wake up them. Your alarm is ringing 5 a.m. in the morning. As a father, you are going up. You are going to work by 6 o'clock, and you have to leave the house by 5:30, and the child is still sleeping, and they call you from school and say, "Oh, your child came to school late." You know, how do you define all that? You know, so the Western world is like too much freedom for everybody, and in Africa, no, it is not. It is opposite.
Like you said, too much freedom. Do you think too much freedom tends to make people make the wrong choices in life?
No.
Or do you think like just having too much freedom kind of like can also give you door of opportunities? For example, it gives you the opportunity to, like, let me say, if your child does music, it gives them the opportunity to go to the studio and stay at the studio for as many hours to practice their craft and so on. Like, do you think too much freedom is something that's bad?
Yes, because they have too much freedom and you don't have control over them, so they misbehave.
You know what I would say about that? Too much freedom, quote and unquote. Too much freedom has to do with the age. If your child is 18 years old, then he can do or she can do whatever. But I discovered that lately, people are just being nonchalant with their responsibilities, especially the parents in this Western world. If your child is not performing in school, the onus lies on you to say, let me check on you. What is your performance in school? What is your grade? Now, in the house, what is your duty as a parent to say, how is my child faring in the house? That will give you the edge to know what is happening in the school. So if you say the underage are performing in the studio, like what age? You got to check that in the first place. So for me, if you are not 18, you go to the studio and perform. Who gave you that
That's true.
authority?
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
And so let me okay, let's jump to another question that I feel like is very important, because I'm a young man and I'm growing up too. So like I just want to know, like, can you, in your own opinion, I mean, in your own definition, can you define like a real man in terms of like our African culture and so on? Because me growing up here in America, I see different definition. You know, I mean, based on what's being shown to me, you know. But I was raised in an African household, so I'm able to kind of like understand a real man by looking at my father, the things that he do. So like, how would you guys define like a real man in your own?
My lovely mother read heart.
For me, a real man in Africa, at least you have to, most of the responsibility in your compound, at least you have to carry most of the responsibilities,
Right.
to your children, to your wife and families. Then that will make you a real responsible person.
And how about you? How would you
Yeah.
define the real man?
To buttress what he's saying, because that's what I have in mind.
Right.
You have to be a strong man. That is encompassing. You have to be able to provide your family, to be able to reach the Hausa family,
Right.
the extended family, so to say. But aside that, to be a responsible man, you have to be there for your immediate family. And that's what you have all in the world. Your children, what it becomes in the future,
Right.
that honors lies on you as a father. So if you
It's okay.
if you don't play it well,
Right.
it will end up coming back to you. So as a parent, as a father, the honors like on you, just like you said, you have to, in Africa, everything you have to provide. But coming to the Western world, yeah, with your wife, with your whatever, you have to do it all together. But as a man, the motivational thing, the being there for the children, being their friend, getting to know what they do on daily basis. You can't know it on hourly basis because you are at work too. But getting to know, being their friends, be their close confidant is very key. And that's how you know how to be a father.
Definitely. And also, let's look, because you know nowadays it's like a lot of kids having kids. A lot of kids, for example, they're having kids and then they don't find that, like, they don't have a great way to like kind of like raise them. Do you think back home was the same, where like young boys would get a girl pregnant and then instantly leave them? Do you think people back home would have held them accountable? Kind of like tell them like, you have to be there for them, you have to do this and so on.
On that is, you see, in African tradition, you know, as a responsible father, at least being a father, you have to at least give him advice to let him know that
This is your responsibility.
Right.
So at least he can learn from you, because if you are responsible, you expect your children to be responsible to their own responsibility.
Right. And do they hold those people accountable? For example, they have a kid and they want to run away. Do they hold them accountable and tell them like, hey, you have to come back and take care of your child? Because nowadays here, it's like a guy could have a kid with a girl and then and disappear, and nobody will do anything about it. Family members will not even get involved.
No, in Africa you get involved, because if there is what you know, like a family, if they know I'm the father, they will come to me that this is what your son did to my daughter, and From there I said, well,
Right.
if I'm sure it's my son that did it, I will take responsibility for it.
Oh, so they would bring the kid to the father and mother of the son.
No.
When the woman is pregnant, like early pregnancy, like 2 months, 3 months, they come to the father-in-law's house and say, "This is no father-in-law, quote and unquote. This is what your son did to my daughter." And if you are sure your son did that, then you say, "Okay, it's not."
How would you be sure? How would you be sure?
He will confess to you,
yes,
but he might not be able to confess outside.
Okay.
But let me now correct something. In the Western world here, they have social security, they have all those things attached to the guy. So if they tested it and say that the guy is responsible for pregnancy, then this child support thing comes in. That does not operate in Africa. Child support thing operates from the father. If the father says, "Oh, my son confessed to me that is the owner of the pregnancy," then the boy can run away, but the father, or the mother,
we have to take care of
the boy. Automatically they will even over-pamper him, over-pamper the pregnant lady. Unlike here, where you have to go to the court to say, "Oh, you have to pay, so you have to do this, you have to do that." Right. The record is not there over there.
Oh wow!
So to say,
that's crazy. That's crazy. So my last question: what message would you give? Let me just jump. So my last question, because we're running out of time. What message would you give the young men that's growing up in order for them to kind of like be a good example for the next generation, because generation follows, so like generation always evolves. But what message would you give them in order for them to become something great in life and to inspire others?
For me, in anything you are doing, you have to be truthful and be perseverance. So at least if you are truthful in your dealing with peoples, from there the way will be clear for you.
Right.
For me, I would say anything you are doing in life, do it well, because there is always a payday for everything. Or something you do today might not boomerang in the next 2-3 years, maybe 20, 50 years, where you are becoming something. Let me give you an example. Some politician we go to contest, and somebody will just come out of somewhere and say, "Oh, you raped me, this, that." So as a parent, I always tell my children, anything you do today can come out to haunt you tomorrow. So be careful, extra careful. Even when you're on the playground in your school, make sure you are extra careful. You are in the workplace, make sure you are extra careful. Especially with the opposite sex.
Right.
Be careful, because anything can come up tomorrow. And even with your own friends, be careful, because I had a training in my workplace, which I've always been having from long time ago, about workplace harassment, sexual harassment. They are two different things. You can harass your gender. You can harass your opposite gender. There are ways they look at it. So if you're not careful, somebody who you thought you are joking with can come back tomorrow and say and turn it against you. So in life, you have to be very careful. And one thing you have to look at is the country you are looking at is US. What you have to key into
The system.
the policies. That is key. If you are working in Buffalo Sphere, the policy here is different from Tops, different from Walmart, different from this and that. So whatever you are working or whatever your environment is, look at what is obtainable there. Key into it so that you don't, step on people's toes and tomorrow when you are becoming the president, becoming the senator, becoming the footballer of America that people want to see, and somebody will just come and say, "Oh, he did this to me." You know. So, thank you so much.
Nah, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it. I'm really happy for this. A lot of people will also be happy for it. But yo, man, thank you, man. This is the EC Pinchot Podcast, which one and only host, Glory Boy. Appreciate you guys. Appreciate the OGs, you know what I'm saying? And we out of here, man. Let's go.